Yes, I Yeshua Shalom in the name of JAH Rastafari, in the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, in the name of Yeshua, Jesus Christos, black Jesus, that is, black Jesus Christ, the true anointed one. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, with the whole thing, we would have we'd have liked the new king or the new leader to come in and he be righteous and do the right thing. You know what I mean? Um, though still we have to understand that a person has the choice of whether they want to do the right things or the wrong things. And they can lie to you. And it's interesting because, the kind of games that if you look at the way the US plays, I don't even know. I'm not sure of like what they have in a constitution that actually says that if you know basically if somebody campaigns on something, some truth or um that if they go against that or they start, they lie or they they kind of become against that or they don't do the right thing concerning that they can be, impeached or removed for so many things, certain things. Like if we go into, these laws that the Gentiles have made up here in the US, you know what I mean, in America. Though one interesting thing for me with Trump, especially when I look at like if I look at like black people, you know what I mean, when I start studying the situation, because for these 400 years, in all these 400 years, there's been no effort to try to, repay or repair those damages that's been done to black people over time. I mean, even if we just went since Tulsa, and we can go further back than that, you got the Civil War. You got before that, which a lot of black people don't like to mention, which is the Gullah Wars. And I think another one of the problems is it seems like we already have recognized like much of other history, like in this nation or whatever nations that black people were scattered from during the slavery times on the slave ships to every nation that they went to. You know what I mean? And it's speaking in reference to them being Hebrews or Israelites. Just like us, we say we're Ethiopian Hebrews. Though when we say we're Ethiopian Hebrews or we're black Jews, we're keeping with the context of the Bible. Amos 9:7, aren't you as the children of the Ethiopians to me? And many of the other areas where it does mention Ethiopia. And then on top of that, still having to fight through many of the problems that our people already have as it is generally today. You know what I mean? Like, but like I said, we expected, good things. Leader come in, he do the right thing, and though at the same time we had to keep our eyes open to the transgression because we're already under a transgression. You know what I mean? We're already in a you know, just as Christians, the U.S. as a Christian nation, they should be able to at least admit in what the word of the Bible, what the Bible actually says. They should be able to at least admit in that, you know. So if they say that, these people have been entreated evil for 400 years, we know what people, what people that is, what people you had who was done the worst. Even I think we heard even the Irishman saying, about their people had been, under, I want to say the British for like 800 years or something like that. You know what I mean? And that's another thing too. Who got done the worst? Because, we saw even when other people came over here, or when they so-called say like how they say they discovered America, but those of us that know the truth about that know history, we know that they didn't discover nothing because it was already people here living. You know what I'm saying? So, but what happens is the oppression or the downpression of other ethnicities or other people's history, especially black people. This always comes back to dealing with us as black people. And one of the things I love about His Imperial Majesty, Kedamawi Haile Selassie, is that he was very serious about decolonialization. You know what I mean? Like decolonizing. And Ethiopia being that only nation to never be colonized in the whole continent of Africa. It's a lesson that we all have to learn as black people. You know what I mean? And we have to get over our differences, because you got different kind of black people out here now. You got black people that's you got some people that say they black, but then they not African, so they don't have nothing to do with the continent. Then you got people that say they African, but then they not black because something about the word. And then you got people who say they Negro, but they not African or black, which is weird. You know what I'm saying? Even though in Latin, Negro mean black, you know what I'm saying? The negro don't mean black. That's what they say. They say negro. They say that's just saying, okay, it's black. You know what I'm saying? For us, the word black is very significant, being that His Imperial Majesty began the Ethiopian World Federation. And in the preambles is we, the black peoples of the world. So we know how important the word black is to us as on even on a world identity scale. You know what I mean? Just dealing with Ethiopia and their first principle as a nation, we understand that right there, it actually extends that law to us as fellow constituents if we really paid attention. You know what I'm saying? By His Imperial Majesty saying, we the black peoples of the world, when we understand how important this man, Haile Selassie, JAH Rastafari is, everything else will fall into place when we take it with the importance of the seriousness, as he said in his speech, you know, to live at the example of Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ was that living flesh example, black Jesus, you know. So once we understand Yeshua, the relationship with Yeshua, the Son, the Most High, and then the Father, JAH Rastafari, then the rest of the story, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be no problem with putting it together if we following in the right direction. So there's a reason that we're called the black peoples of the world. So when people start getting into words and what people like to call, some people say semantics, I just saw the different styles of wordplay. You know, people just use different styles of wordplay, either to sound smart or because maybe they really read the definition and they understand what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Because some of us, we've heard definitions coming from other people's mouths, and then we start thinking like, okay, we understand this. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to get into all of that. But the only thing that I want to say is that everything is always right on point. We have to understand that the nation that forget Hashem, you know what I'm saying? It's still going to get turned into hell. You know what I'm saying? Irregardless, it's still going to get turned into hell. Now, some people believe that with old Trump coming in there, right? So Trump, he's in there in 2025 and everything. Some people kind of felt like maybe Kamala wouldn't have been trying to really deprive people of their constitutional rights, as, you know what I'm saying? Because speaking to the brethren, we were speaking about this. Perhaps she wouldn't have been trying to do that. Though this is what we got to understand, that we were on the trajectory of, you not black if you don't vote for me. And then when that person gets into office, what did they do for black people? See, that's what you got to look at. Where did all the spending and the finances and those things go to? You see what I'm saying? When they could have paid reparations to black people. No black people are owed reparations. What is our proof of us being owed this reparations of as his people? Well, we as the black Jews, we as these black Israelite people, the children of Christ, is the Almighty who said that we were treated evil for 400 years. You know, and them being true Christians, if those white folks out there, if they're true good Christians, they're gonna also admit to that too. You see what I'm saying? They won't have a problem admitting to that. You know, so and on another note, you know, if anytime since that they really control the government, is controlled from a white systematic perspective, they have to regulate things when they get out of hand or they get out of order. It's one of those things that is really on them. You know what I mean? Now, for us, it's up to us to institute Torah or bring about communities where we already are structured under the Torah, so we can get rid of, whatever ratchetness or wickedness or evil or crime is going on in the community. Not that I want to point the finger at certain people, because there's certain issues that they line up with the Torah. And I think that's another thing that we should understand. If we got some issues or complaints and they line up with the Torah, then God bless, we can handle everything that way. But I do believe that the people, we should be given a chance to put the laws of the Torah in effect. You know what I mean? Because Hashem, he's been so merciful. Even like reading, I'm remembering the verse where it says, like, if you don't barely know what sin you're committing, that he punishes you lightly. That's the mercy of Hashem. Plus, looking at how many people can do all these wicked and evil works for how long? You're like, man, Hashem, how long is these people gonna get to do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, this person's wicked, and you be thinking that, but there is a reason, and he has a plan the way he does things. You know what I mean? So being true, Rastafari, really studying from that intent on the real level for over a decade now, I begin to see it truly how to more so follow the Almighty's code. You understand? Because a lot of us talk about getting on code, but we got to get on the Almighty's code. You understand? And we got to understand these situations. There's some brothers out there, to my brothers that's, they Islamic, I would say, in your spirituality, is it there? Is it there for you? Are you willing to, are you there for your people? Are you there to protect your people? Are you there to fight for your people? Because look at the evil things that be going on to our people in these other countries by people who claim that religion, to claim to be Islamic. They killing Christians. Look at the up there in Libya, what's going on right now from last time we checked. And I want to give a shout out to the African Diaspora channel, because, we catch a lot of their content. Look at what's going up there in Libya right now, how they had an Ethiopian woman. And I think that Ethiopian woman, they are, torturing that woman, telling their family they're going to give her $25,000. And you brothers got to look at this too. What kind of people? Now, even look at the Boko Haram. Look at the Boko Haram, for example. Let me look at them, for example. They went in and kidnapped other black people, black girls and children and women and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Is that you know what I'm saying? You got to kind of look at some things like, where was when I look at the soldier nation for black people, for Israel, that was to me one of his greatest peak. Is I always look at the comparison to David's time when they would get out there, like, the soldiers had the swords, they had the squab. You know what I mean? I look at the Maccabees. You know what I mean? I see the Maccabees. And when they got rid of that time period of the army, of the black army of Israel, you know what I'm saying? When they got rid of that time period of the army, then you notice that everything else was easy to take. Yeah. After that, Africa was easy to colonize. You know what I mean? If you think about it, right? The colonialization really came when they found out they were able to defeat these people, their faith, their spirituality. They fight in that, because the Maccabees fight was in that Judaic faith and spirituality. They held to that, and they were soldiers with that. So we have to understand these things, how, how they say history repeats itself. So with the Gullah Wars was that same kind of, that same kind of fight, even with the Gullahs, even back at that time of black people fighting for their freedom during the time of President Andrew Jackson. These are facts. It's not like somebody is making this up. You can go look this up. You know what I mean? These are facts. I think we went over it before and showed it before. So these things are very important to understand. Even the topic about Haiti, Haiti defeating the French, what they say with the voodoo, what they claim is voodoo, you know what I mean? But then on another level, there's something called hoodoo, you know what I mean? And that's like, it kind of reminds us of the bingy, like the beat of the drum, the drum beat, the singing the psalms and praises with the drum beats. You know what I mean? With the bongo. And that's supposed to be like the heartbeat. You know what I mean? That's supposed to be where those first, like those dance steps come from, that heartbeat, that boom, 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 boom. You know, it's like a baby step into that kind of spiritual, divine music. You know what I'm saying? That in the people, that was supposed to be what resonated as far as the military force. Now, I'm pretty sure there was other things there. You know, I'm sure there were other things there. You know what I mean? Though we have to be careful for the witchcraft, because look where the witchcraft leads us to. It leads us to tribalism. It leads us to genocide. So you got to recognize what these things are and how we're not supposed to bow down or serve these other gods. You see what I'm saying? Because that's what bring about these witchcraft. You know what I mean? And we should not confuse the Almighty even with himself. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what we get out of white Christianity. We kind of confuse the Almighty. We say, well, wait a minute, it's the same God of the Bible. No, it's not the same. Go read it. Go read it. Stay on the Torah code. Stay on the Hebrew calendar code with the Torah portions. Shout out to the Rastafari Israelite channel. You know, check that out in the Rastafari Jews. You know what I mean? But stay on code with the Torah portion. You know, the aliyahs of the Torah portion, because that's telling us what's going on. You know what I mean? Look at all of the death that's going on that's leading up to the Passover this year. We're about 12 days out now, right? We about 12 days out. A couple of days ago, I think it was like 14 days. So we like 12 days out. Though, you know, when we look at the word, we start to understand all this from my I&I perspective. Like I&I perspective, I was saying that I was looking at, you know, Trump like a type of Cyrus. You see what I'm saying? But we were looking at him like a type of Cyrus from the real definition of what it is in the Bible, not the made up version that they have in the world today, or the whitewashed version of it. You know what I mean? But what it really, really is. You know what I mean? Because this is, if they truly believe in Yeshua, Yeshua is the salvation of all nations. You know what I'm saying? So, and when we say all nations, this is all races. This includes all races of people, all seeds. All seeds became races. Those races became nations. And he is the salvation of all the nations. So if he could say the nations are my people too, that means that if we look at verse like where he says the nations are my people too, that means that that hand, you know, yeah, he extended to his people first, like first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. But then remember, Yeshua extended to the Jew. Yeshua is that extension to the Jew. The Jew rejected him, had him murdered. Well, the Jew rejected him and sold him out to the Romans, and the Romans murdered him, right, by the Jew word. So the Jew, they committed, what did they do? They what's that where you witness falsely? Falsely to witness. You know what I mean? They became false witnesses, bearing false witness, right? Do not never run with a crowd to bear false witness against a man. You know what I mean? So that means like to you know, basically a man goes to trial and you know, you hate this person. So you want them convicted and you want them you know, murdered, or they get the death penalty, even though, you know, you're hating this person along with the crowd. You don't really understand your hatred for this person. That's what happened to Yeshua. So that hand extended to the people, being the son of Ha Elohim, coming as the salvation to his people, Israel, right? Them rejecting that, right? Then it says first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. So we can see the hand going extending to the Gentile. And we can see that today. For example, the flag. Look at the Jewish state of Israel today. The flag, that really belongs to the Black Jews of Harlem, right? The commandment keepers. Actually, that's the commandment keepers flag right there. You know what I mean? So us Black Jews, us Yehudi, us Black Jews over here in America are the origin of that flag that they have. You see what I'm saying? But even though we said this, and you know, the Rebbe, shout out to Rebbe from the line of Judah Society, LOJ, even though this has already been mentioned, and this is something that we have carried as you know what I'm saying? as line of Judah society Jews or as black Jews, and not only even some of the other, I would say the Hebrew Israelite camps, the black Hebrew Israelite camps, to what degree of the truth that they carry, even if some of them broke away. Some of them have broke away. So we had that blindness in part right there. You see what I'm saying? So blindness and the brokenness, that's that broke away. That's that part. Or it's a part because they broken away from the concept of the truth. This is pointing towards, our kinsman redeemer, the King of Kings, Gedamawi Haile Selassie, JAH Rastafari, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, the King of Kings, and the holy imperial Ethiopian monarchy from the bloodline of David to his imperial majesty. You see what I'm saying? So on that note, being broken from that, the people dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. So this whole thing about a political unit, as a political unit of black people, we could function like that, but we have to all be on that one accord. You know what I mean? But for as many of us as that don't believe, or that's why Yeshua says go to the lost sheep first, right? The lost sheep have the opportunity, but still we have to admit that if another people standing on that name and they fighting for that name, in a certain sense, they fighting for the nation of the Almighty JAH Rastafari. They fighting for the nation of Israel, or Yeshua's nation, right? Because Yahweh is the national name of Israel. So if Yahweh is the national name of Israel and ones are carrying the torch as Israel, now those of us others who are as black Jews, you know what I mean? Without the support of our people, you know what I mean? It just makes it even harder. At least I could say about some of the white Jewish people that even if they're not deep into the Torah, a lot of them, they still stay on code with being known as Israel. You know what I mean? They still stay on code with that. It's like, it seems like a lot of times we find ourselves kind of confrontation with our own people. We can like they can't even stay on code to preserve that. You know what I mean? That name. You know what I'm saying? So we have to give that credit there. Even if we see the other elements, now you got the Almighty addresses these other elements in Ezekiel 38 and 39. You know what I mean? He recognizes, okay, these people using my name and they're using my nation for their works and they're doing this and that. Though it's up to us to be grounded in the Torah, educated so we can understand where we stand at in the world today. So now, when we dealing with the fact that we understand who we are as those people, as black Jews, as Israel. So if we go back past the last term, for the last you're not black if you don't vote for me, right? And now you get this guy in here, you get this new guy in here, and he kind of on the same, you're not black if you don't vote for me. In fact, I could kind of say where you can sense and see where things were finna go wrong with Trump was when he went to South Africa and made that executive order. And you look at what he said about those people who had their land taken from them. The 2 to 3 million ran off their land by the white folks who came from where? The Netherlands and France and those places, talking about the South Africaners, right? What they call themselves, the South Africaners. Because one of the things that we have to understand about His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie is that, as we said before, he was very much so about decolonizing Africa. He was trying to decolonize Africa. You understand? And that was the effort that we all are supposed to do all over the world. And this is not just a racial thing towards white people. You know, the more we were educated in what His Imperial Majesty was doing, he was trying to decolonialization was supposed to go on all over the world. As we said, we're speaking about them Irish people. Remember, you know what I'm saying? Well, that's interesting because that brought us back to mind. Remember, they was in captivity for like, so they say, 800 years under the British, right? But if there's some unfair and unjust treatment going on amongst their own people, this probably more than likely has a large part to do with colonization, right? Colonialism, because even they'll practice that same thing on their people, which to me is hand in hand with like Satanism, right? Or what the devil said, like skin for skin games, because they do that up there too. You know what I mean? They kind of play these kind of games, like who's whiter than white when you get into those politics up in those areas. You know, they done that to the people too. And you can see today that seems many white folks have caught on to that. They're catching on to that. They already caught on to that. You know what I mean? And this is what we get to see. Like, look at Babylon, for example. Babylon is like, she would not be healed, but she has the choice of not being healed. Right? Because if she would be healed, then, you know, like Hashem said, okay, I will heal her. That means, you know, the system would start to be righteous. You know what I mean? But then they use the law, right, to perverse judgment, and then also depravity, because they deprive the people of their reparation, the people who they did wrong, or they've been entreating evil for the last 400 years, right? So, like we said, one's able to go back on their word, but then there's consequences for that. You know what I mean? And Hashem does say, you know, I'm going to fight them from the air. I'll fight them myself from the air with fire, right? And this is just a simplistic way of saying it, because really, honestly, it's a whole nother video that I want to get into about how Hashem is fighting them from the air with fire, and he is doing it. He is doing it. We're seeing it happen. And I honestly believe that's what it is, and it ain't the last part of it. We're going to see it. We're going to see some more. So let's go down here, because one of the things that we want to understand is the iniquity of the Amorites. You know what I mean? Like, when we at the last part of this, so we can see what's going on, right? So it does seem like there is it's like a secret revamping of colonialism. You understand? Because you got like it look like little secret things going on here and there being put out. You know, it's like they talking about the segregation thing. Yeah, I thought that was weird. It's kind of strange. It is weird. Now, I did say something about segregation, you know, though I give it to my brother from the African Diaspora channel, because he was saying, he was talking about separation. Separation would be good for us, you know, if it's done correctly or properly. Basically, that's just, in that sense, is like every community managing itself in a healthy and in a well manner. You know what I mean? Where we conduct our activity with other peoples and other communities in a healthy way. You know what I mean? So we all building up our own communities. And if we were to come into each other's community, it's to help build it up, help bring something there. You know, there'll be a happy exchange. You know what I'm saying? Like a righteous, a holy exchange, if you would. You know what I mean? Like, you know, let's say some brethren from another community or another race community, they come over to Africa and they like, you know, we're going to help do this or do that. You know what I mean? And the contract is good and the payments are right and they righteously get their payment, and we, you know, it's a fair exchange, if you will. It's not exploitation, like we live in a world of exploitation today. It's not saying let's go over and see, oh, these people don't know no better, so let's take advantage of that and deprive them and perverse judgment, right? Let's take advantage of that, and you know what I mean? But also, too, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So if you allow someone to do that to you, too, you know, because as the Almighty said, you know, I send everything to you, everything I sent to you, right? And I sent it to you on purpose. It's a way of war on purpose so you can see it. You understand? So these things, that's why I understand the fact, like, you know, slavery being a good thing that it happened. Yeah, it's good because it lets us recognize what we messed up, what went wrong. And I can go read the Torah and go back and see, well, we were on the land, so what were we doing wrong? You can see what we're doing wrong. It'll tell you. You understand? So this has a lot to do with the end times, even in this iniquity of the Amorites. You know, just like over here, let's go to it. Genesis 15 and 13. Okay, so this is Genesis 15 and 13. right? So it says, and he said to Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years, right? So we had 13. Then if you go to 14, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, right? And afterward they shall come out. Afterward shall they come out with great substance. So it's saying after the judgment, right? But I want to show you what stood out to me about this, so you could tell where we at today, and it's telling you what's going on. So when we get to 16, no, verse 15, right? And thou shalt go to thy fathers in shalom, in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. So that's that promise that to Abraham. I think at the time it was Abram, right? So at that time it was Abram, a friend of mine with that name. You know, it's very interesting. And, you know, though when he is right, he rises to the level of fruition in the spirituality and the Holy Spirit. It calls him Abiraham, right? His new name, he adapts to Abiraham. You know what I mean? But right here is Abram. Okay, so let's go to verse 16. So, but in the fourth generation, they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full, right? So now, when we go and we look at, and this is what I thought was important about this whole thing, I was thinking about, you know, like I said, colonialism, them trying to re-up colonialism, you know what I mean? After this 400 years, think about the fact that the Almighty said, if you raise it, I'll tear it down. I will tear it down. And look at the way he's fighting with fire from the air even. You know, and more judgments to come. More judgments to come. Because what does it say about Babylon? That she'll fall in violence, right? So apparently, people gonna wake up and get violent, right? Because unrighteous or wickedness or evil things are being done to them. You know what I mean? So like I said, the subtleness too, the subtleness is very strange. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, like let me give you an example. Like if you look at the let's go to this verse while we speaking on this. If you look at the South African thing, when Trump went over there to South Africa, right? I'm more than sure that executive order had a lot to do with a favor for Elon Musk, right? So now Elon Musk is from there. So he must be heavily a fan of apartheid if you think about it. What is apartheid? Apartheid is, for those that don't know it, it's pretty much, some people want to say white supremacy even. You can use it as that, white supremacy or white colonialism, enslavement of African indigenous peoples on their own land. This is talking about, when we say indigenous, we're talking about the people whose land was given to them by God, because all people was given land by God. This is what we got to understand. Right? Everybody was given land by God. Even when we go look in the Ethiopian book of Jubilee, we know where the Amorite is supposed to be at. We know where everybody is supposed to be at. You know, Ha Elohim gave specific instructions for where everyone is supposed to be. You know, understand what I'm saying? So there's kind of even some, we can't even look at that like even when we're looking at the Greenland kind of thing. You know what I mean? And, you know, some say that they thinking about a monetary system with gold. We would say, where's Menelik's gold for the reparations for black people too? Because, you know, we need that repairing. We need that reparations. You know what I mean? That's what this is about. So one way or another, Hashem is going to make them face that. But that salvation is going to come from the Almighty. It's going to come from JAH Rastafari. He going to get the glory. The Almighty going to get the glory. So all these other spiritualities or these other gods that black people want to worship and these other things you want to get into, those things will fail you. You know what I mean? And the witchcraft is already getting, they getting murked out there. You know what I mean? So we got to understand, but happy is ye who suffer for righteousness' sake. You know what I'm saying? So don't fear him that can harm the flesh, but fear him that can harm your soul and send your soul to hell. That's who you should fear. You know what I mean? It's not the one who can harm your flesh. This is what we got to understand. We got to stop living by the flesh. Maybe we will see the Almighty much more clearer, and we won't have to worry so much. Instead of being worried, do the right thing. If you're doing the right thing, you ain't got nothing that you need to be worried about. You understand? So even in times of oppression, downpression, you know what I mean? So as we said, we go over here, and like I said, so like we said, when he went over there to South Africa, he must have been doing that. Obviously, that executive order was for Elon Musk, right? Some racist apartheid, white evil, white and evil. Because for the white folks, there's good white folks. We have some good white brethren, a few good white brethren out there. I do believe that many of them are waking up. You know what I'm saying? So we can't blame all people. You know what I mean? And you know what? Also, too, to a lot of the migrants and people come from other places, you supposed to be on that decolonialization too. And if you ain't on that kind of time, that mean that you might be riding with this mind state that Jesus or Yeshua, Jesus Christ is white, or you might think that he's not black. You know what I mean? You might really think that you might have this faith in this white Jesus or white Mary. And I'm not saying, what I'm going to say is if you truly seek to follow the word of the Almighty and the Torah, I believe the truth will come to you. You'll see it and you'll open your eyes. Though if you choose to fight against that because you got a racist heart, then you have to pay the consequence for that too. You know what I mean? You got to pay the consequence for that too. But you're supposed to be decolonializing also, with that mind state, decolonialization. You know what I mean? Mexico came to the aid of Ethiopia during the Italian invasion of Ethiopia during World War II. Mexico came to the aid of Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we know, like, they true faith. That was that true Christian faith coming to the aid of the Messiah, of the Black Messiah. They had that faith. So as well as it is for us as Black Jews, as Black people, to understand that if we become that light to these people, we really represent our God, really represent who we are. They will see that light and they will come to us. You know what I mean? And all people, all nations, all races of people will be, those people will be saved. Now the wicked and the ratchet and, they got to get what they get, or, it is what it is. You know what I mean? If they got to go, they just got to go. So let's go over here. So like I was saying, let me finish up. So when they went to South Africa, they made the executive order, and then basically the next day shows up at the Super Bowl throwing up the black fist or the white fist that he be throwing up, which I thought was like a stab in the back. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Saul. Maybe I even had to give Roland Martin a little credit on the Saul part. Maybe that is the Saul part right there. He goes to just referencing that Saul was really a black man, or it was black people, because the Israelites, those stories are of black people. You know what I'm saying? So though when we reference, somebody can have a similar behavior. You know what I mean? So when we look at it, it's like, well, he went over there to, what did he do? He went and he was given a command. Saul was given a command to, get rid of the, then he saved like the king of the Agagites or something like that, right? He saved like the king of the Agagites. Now, this is the one Samuel had to chop him down in pieces. You know what I mean? So I like the video with the Rebbe. He goes over the Super Bowl video. That Super Bowl video kind of reminded us on the Rastafari Jews. You know what I mean? It reminded us of, Samuel chopping the Agagite down into pieces, because this one, he was given this second chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, Saul was given a chance to be a king. You know what I mean? The people chose Saul and everything like that. So the people chose their king. You ever thought to ask, why was those the only two candidates that everybody had to pick from? You ever thought about that? Why was it just her? It was Kamala and Trump. Like, why? There was nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Even though politically black people fall in another area as far as a nation of people. You see what I'm saying? But, we have to ask, those are the kind of questions that we have to ask. And again, I don't never, I stopped personalized because I started realizing people be carrying spirits. So you got to rebuke the evil spirits that they carrying. Maybe it will salvage the person. You see what I'm saying? Hopefully. You know what I mean? But if not, hey, man, that's the worst. That's damnation, right? So yeah, and then comes to gets to the Super Bowl, throws up the white fist, the black fist, like a stab in the back, and everybody else is just playing. Nobody didn't mention anything about that. You know what I mean? About what happened in South Africa. You know what I mean? His Imperial Majesty gave Nelson Mandela a golden gun. So Nelson Mandela is that 007, that real cold, that golden gun. You know what I mean? That's why seeing the South Africans stand up to, you know what I mean, doing what they had to do, standing up for their people, because it's only righteously that apartheid is written off of that land. You know what I mean? And the injustices and crimes and evils that other people have done on the land must be undone. You know what I mean? Even if that means if the removal of them off of that land, then that be so. You know what I mean? If there's peaceful arrangements where they can be there, if it's arranged properly under Almighty, that he say, okay, well, these people can dwell here, or they can come here and stay here for a while, or they need to go and, basically build up their own land or take care of their own land, take care of their own people. You know what I mean? But you're there down pressing and oppressing other people. And, that was a very a very evil and wicked thing that was going on with apartheid. You know what I mean? And Nelson Mandela wasn't freed out of prison. It didn't end till what they said, like 1996. You know what I'm saying? 1996. I mean, man, that's a whole nother vid. We got to go into that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I thought that was the stab in the back right there. So you can already see where the evil was coming. You see what I'm saying? It was like, man, one got a second chance. Now, looking at one, man, you got a second chance. You get back in there, and you make these promises to Jah, like to Yahweh, the Hashem, I'm going to do this right. I'm going to do that right. And then you get this second chance, right? And then when you get this second chance, you do the opposite of what you're supposed to do. So what do you think? Don't you think the penalty it's going to be harsher this time? Don't you think it's really might be the first Trump, might as well be the last, right? Might as well be like the last colonial, crazed, wicked-minded, you know what I mean? Yeah. So this is getting real interesting. You know what I mean? It's a lot to speak about on that part. You know what I mean? So we have to watch as we go and we looking at what's happening. But as the Almighty said, if you try to raise it, I'll tear it down. So when we say that, it's seeming like he could have been like Cyrus and be good to Black Israel. You know what I'm saying? And being that we didn't see that, you know what I mean? Being that, we seen more opposite of that, or more contradiction to that, you know what I mean? And then he rode with this kind of white Cyrus thing, which is not real. That's something that's not real. That's not real. No matter how we want to look at it, Cyrus was not white. And now Israel is definitely not white. You know what I mean? If you want to come from that perspective of it, if Cyrus was not necessarily Black Israel himself, because he was Persian, right? Though the Israelite peoples, dealing with those people, those were Black people. So the realisticness of him fitting that image of a Cyrus would be to, help these people, help the Black Jews do the rebuilding of Jerusalem, rebuilding themselves, repairing their damages. You know what I mean? Reparations, if you will, in that sense. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get into that because that's what this verse really, it dwells into when we were looking at this verse. That's why we thought this was important, you know what I mean, for this time to tell everything, because there's really no dependency on none of these presidents or anything like that. And I think Black men, just be true. If it's good things that he's done, and you can say, okay, man, that looks like that's gonna be a good thing. You know what I mean? for us and for other people, or if it look like it's not, but to see you look like a fool after them going down there doing that evil stuff that they did with that executive order down there in South Africa and coming back up here talking about going to having Black History Day at the White House like you did something for you. You know what I mean? And you look like a fool. You know what I'm saying? You look like a fool. Some of these names we want to carry on with. You know what I mean? It can look foolish. It might seem like it's serving a certain type of purpose, but it can look foolish. You know what I mean? But if you are these Christian people, these people of God, right? That mean that you are these Black Jews. You know what I'm saying? So and the fact of the matter is like this. That flag, that's the Black Jews flag of America. At least respect it on that level that it's our flag. Even if it's another people who's holding it down for it as a nation, right? Respect the fact that it's our flag and spread the love. You know what I'm saying? Because you got other people, they find out, first of all, you Black, they even more racist and wicked to you in some some of these other religions, especially is in some of the Islamic religions, the jihadists. Boy, would you know what they think about Black people? Right? It's very bad. And the enslavement of Black people was even worse than what the white man did. Okay, so that's something that we should really take into deep consideration in these times we living in, especially when you think you taking up for certain people. Let me say this too. We know about the situation for our Black people over there in the Jewish state of Israel. But what about the Black people over there in Palestine? I don't hear nothing about them. I don't hear what they going through or anything like that. And Black folks are treated far worse in those areas, in those places, amongst those people than they are in the Jewish state of Israel. You know what I mean? That to the point where even some of our people have ringed the alarm on the Mohammedism being like it's a madman, maniac, murdering kind of thing. They'll murder and get rid of all of us. You a Christian, you a Black person, you a Jew. They could stand right next to you, holler peace, and then you sleep at night. They set your house on fire. And you know what I'm saying? So, you know, as men, we could never, as soldiers of Ha Elohim, as defenders of faith, we can't just sit there and, you know, oh no, we have to get it. We have to defend our family. We have to get down if need be. You know what I mean? But this is the point that you know I and I is making. You know what I mean? These things are very important. We shouldn't turn a blind eye to that. You know what I mean? They picking and whooping on you and make you look like a coward. But you turn around and you could pick somebody's religion of who's damaging and hurting and harming your people the way they harming your people is that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? That's crazy, especially in the times we living in now. I can understand in the older times, you know, even brothers like Minister Farrakhan and, you know, Malcolm X and some of those perspectives, Elijah Muhammad, you know what I mean? And some of them honorable perspectives. And even they, at that time, they was more on some soldiered up. They was some United Soldier kind of stuff. It was like on some Maccabee kind of thing. Elijah Muhammad was on like a Maccabee, like a Judaic Maccabee. You know what I mean? Even tell you in the book, if you want the roots to it, go to a Jew. Well, why? Just become one. Just be one. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we are anyway. You understand? So let me go over here into this verse, but I really want to, that's something I really think need to be said. And, it is some other issues that we need to go into also. So now when we go over here to Genesis 15 and 16, right? So we go to Genesis 15 and 16 right here. So this verse, right, says, but in the fourth generation, they shall come here again, right? For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Now, when I look at this, like they shall come here again, right? There's two ways that we could look at that. On one way, right? Because if you look at the last verse, the last two verses say it all, right? Because it says, let me see, right? Well, from verse 13 to 16, right? So in 13, it kind of say it all. And he said to Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years, right? We're going to continue. This is to be continued. So, we're going to continue this. You know what I mean?